Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Kentish Town in North London to Hampstead, a relatively local journey. Believe it or not, this ride takes just 10 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. Were you to make the same journey by public transport, it would probably take you between 15 and 20 minutes. So cycling is a really convenient option for making this local trip, particularly since some recent changes to the streetscape went in, which have made it easier to cycle. I'll talk more about those as we pass them in the video. As you can see from the map of the route, this is a very direct journey. If you find this video useful, or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. I'd also like to say a big thank you to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to contribute as well, you can find a link to the page in the description. Okay, let's get going. So we're starting on Kentish Town Road and we're going to turn straight into Anglers Lane. This has been closed to traffic by the council recently, and as a result it's a really pleasant cycle route. The name of the street is interesting too, as it was once a fishing hotspot, as the River Fleet runs under here, now in a pipe. The large building that dominates that street was, until 1965, Europe's largest factory manufacturing false teeth. If you look dead ahead of us on Midland Road there's what looks like a pub. In fact, it still has one of the signs outside. It used to be called the Crimea. It's no longer a pub and is now apartments, but the names of the streets around here are all of a similar theme, being named after battles in the Crimean War. That's the Battle of Inkerman and also Alma. Those would have been relatively current events when the street was developed in the Victorian times. We're now going to turn on to Grafton Road and we'll just head up here for quite a while actually. This is a very useful north-south route from Kentish Town up to Hampstead Heath. And it's even more so recently because Camden Council recently introduced a number of traffic filters on here, which have really removed through traffic from the street and most of the other streets in the area as well. Although we've seen a few cars, it's really quite pleasant and it's really unlikely that you'll see more traffic than I've encountered in this video, which is really at the upper end of what you can expect on Grafton Road normally. Coming up at the next left turn is Queen's Crescent Market, and although we're not going to be going that way today, I really recommend paying it a visit. Part of it was recently pedestrianised as part of the same scheme that's quieting down this road, and it's really good value. I once got my hair cut there for £5, although it should be said that that was a few years ago. Here we're passing through one of the Grafton Road filters, and it's camera controlled, so vehicles aren't allowed to drive through there, but you can still cycle through there. And the result is that the through traffic's been removed from the street, which is great for us cycling. It's also nice for these people who can just walk across the road and meet and talk quite easily. And it's also nice for the people who live on the street as well, including in the estates that line the road. This railway bridge here that we're just going over has the Midland Mainline beneath it, so if you've ever taken a train from St Pancras station up to say Nottingham or Sheffield, you'll have gone under that railway bridge. If you look on the left here, you'll see a little blue sign telling you which way to cycle. That actually used to point the wrong way, but it now points the right way. And my understanding is that that was fixed because Camden Council officers watched a previous video we did up this street where I pointed out the problem, and to their credit they went and fixed it. So great work. It's a really useful prompt for making sure that people don't miss this turn. And the reason that we want to go this way is that they've just installed in the last year or so a new cycle crossing across Mansfield Road. This is a parallel zebra crossing which gives you priority across the road just as a regular zebra crossing would, but you should be careful before you go onto them as you can see, motorists don't always respect them. There's also this van ignoring the no loading restriction at the exit to the crossing, which is annoying, but I was still able to go around it. That crossing may look simple, but it's actually a very strategic intervention because it connects up what are effectively two low traffic neighbourhoods. These streets around here all benefit from a filter on Savernake Road which limits through traffic and makes them relatively quiet, and we were able to cross into them from the Grafton LTN without going on any main roads. Obviously you do need cycle lanes on main roads as well, and Camden, to be fair, has a lot of those planned, but this is a really good example of how to connect up different LTNs to build a coherent cycle network. That filter is just here in front of the entrance to Hampstead Heath. You might have noticed no cycling written on the ground there. That refers to the entrance ramp. There are two ways to get into the Heath by bike. One is being demonstrated by the guy ahead of us using the bike channel on the steps. Another is to push your bike up the ramp here, as I'm doing. You're not allowed to ride your bike on the ramp. However, when you get on the Heath, there are a couple of designated cycle paths you're allowed to use, and I'm going to use them to get to where we need to go. This bridge, incidentally, is a pedestrian bridge over the North London line of the London Overground, which runs beneath us between Gospel Oak and Hampstead Heath station. We're going to remount our bike here after the no cycling sign is gone, and we're just going to spend a very short time on the Heath here, just cutting through to the other exit, which is on our left here. This will take us to Nassington Road, which, as you can see, is a cul-de-sac ending at the Heath and therefore has very little traffic on it. It is unfortunately a bit of a hill, although not an insurmountable one. If you're familiar with this part of North London around Hampstead, you'll know that hills really come with the territory and there's not much you can do about it. If you live in Hampstead and you're thinking of taking up cycling for the first time, I'd probably recommend either being very fit or getting an e-bike, which would actually really serve you well around these parts. The same goes for Highgate, which appeared in a video last week. That said, I don't want to over-egg it. I was able to get up this hill, no problem, and I'm not particularly fit. We then turn left onto Parliament Hill, which, as the name suggests, is another hill, although for us this time it's in the correct direction, down. At the end of the street is the Magdala pub, which is also named after a battle, the Battle of Magdala, in which the British fought the Ethiopian Empire in 1868. It's also famous for another reason, and it's the place where a woman called Ruth Ellis shot her boyfriend in 1955 and became the last woman in Britain to get the death penalty. And that brings us to where we need to be, Southend Road, right in front of Hampstead Heath Overground Station. That's the Royal Free Hospital in the background there. So I think that's a great route. You can see from the map that it's pretty direct, and probably more direct than you'd be able to do in a car as well, as don't forget we pass through a number of traffic filters. If you look at the line of the railway on that map as well, you'll see that we're basically following it, and it takes pretty much the most direct route that's possible. It's been really improved by the recent changes to the streets, like the filters and that crossing as well as Anglers Lane at the beginning. Unfortunately, it's a bit trickier to get into the centre of Hampstead near the tube station, and it would be great to see some sort of provision alongside Southend Road, like maybe a cycle path along the Heath that connects to Willow Road, which I think would probably be the most sensible way in. If you really need to, now you can cycle that already, but cycling up Southend Road isn't particularly pleasant at the moment, as it is uphill and relatively busy. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you're alerted for new videos, and if you really like what we're doing on the channel, you could always consider contributing to the Patreon. There's a link in the description below the video where you can see that. Thanks very much for watching that, guys, and I'll see you again next time. Please let me know in the comments what you think.